I have actually been considering having a second baby at the age of 50. So in this video, I'm going to share the kind of agonizing I've been doing over the last 6 months to come to this decision about whether I'll try for a second baby or not. And towards the end of the video, I'll tell you what I've decided. It's been really hard. I've changed my mind every day for months and months and months. I'm just sharing it with you in case any of it is helpful for your own journey, especially if some of you watching this are thinking about maybe having a second child yourself, especially if you're a single mother or single mother by choice, or if you're an older woman who has a child already. The kinds of things I've been going back and forth on may be things you are also considering, so you might relate to this video or you might get some thoughts out of it about things you could consider. And I'm making a really strong request. Please don't leave any negative comments on this video saying, "Oh, you're too old, I can't believe you think of having a second baby at age 50, that's outrageous, you should be ashamed of yourself." Even if you're thinking that, keep it to yourself. Please don't post it on my video. I'll just delete the comments straight away so no one will read it anyway. This is my own process. I've got to come to my own decision. I'll share with you in this video all the reasons for and against and everything I've been agonizing about, and at the end I'll tell you what my decision is. But I would just really appreciate it if you could set aside your judgment and your preconceived ideas, because every person's journey is different. Every woman's health is different. 50 is not the same for everybody. And I am thinking this through at every possible level. As you will hear from this video, this is not a decision I will take lightly. And it is a really, really hard decision. So please be supportive in your comments. It's been a very hard 6 months of agonizing. So I always planned on having one baby. It actually never even occurred to me to have two when I started this journey. I think it just seemed so amazing and unlikely, miraculous for me even to get pregnant once at my age that it never occurred to me to have two. So I did my process using donor eggs and donor sperm when I was 47, and out of that process came 3 embryos. And I implanted one into myself just before I turned 48, and I gave birth to my daughter, Baby Star, when I was 48. And I always planned to give the other 2 embryos to my best friend, because my dream was that she and I would raise our children together. They'd be a similar age and they'd grow up as cousins, and they would be full genetic siblings. And my best friend and I are so close. We're both the same age. We're both single. I just had this dream that I kept in my heart. And then once I had these 3 embryos, when the first one was successful and I had Baby Star, I told her that I was going to offer her these 2 embryos if she wanted them. And obviously that was a very moving moment. We both cried. And I said to her, just think about it. You legally can't use these embryos for the next year, so think about it for the next year. So she thought about it for a whole year. And then when Baby Star was 12 months old, I checked in with my friend and she told me she decided no, she just couldn't do it at that age, almost 50, by herself. She didn't feel she had the resources. And I totally supported her on that decision. So suddenly my 2 embryos came back to me, which was amazing because I wasn't expecting that. And it still didn't occur to me to have a second one by myself. I started looking around for who could I give these 2 embryos to. I didn't want to give them to any old person. I didn't want to give them to a stranger. I was thinking of my friends who had not had babies, who wanted babies, and who I would ask. And I had one friend who was interested, and I was just going down that path because I had really a lot of fears driving me about my child being alone in the world if something happens to me, because I'm an older mother. So it was really important to me to give her a sibling. And that's really what was driving me at that point. But then something totally bizarre and unexpected happened. When Baby Star was 13 months old, in February 2023, I suddenly got my period back. And that was a shock because I was not expecting to get my period back, because I was still breastfeeding intensively, and also because, I was 49 at the time. And I just assumed I was going into menopause. On the day that my period came back, the most extraordinary thing happened. I was driving to a friend's baby's birthday party, and I just suddenly had this thought pop into my head that I'd never had before, ever. Why don't I use the embryos and have a second baby? And I was like, what? That's crazy. What? Where did that come from? Where did that come from? I honestly think now it might have been the spirit of the second child talking to me, because it certainly did not come from my head. At the time, I assumed it was just hormones. I was like, this has just got to be hormones because I got my period. But it also kind of made me realize, well, hang on. If my period's back, maybe I'm still in childbearing years, maybe I should think of myself as a younger woman, not an older woman. So the seed of this idea was planted on that day and it started to grow. But at the time I thought, oh, this is probably hormones. Let's just wait and see how I feel in a month or 2 if my period really has come back. My body's just saying, ooh, baby, cuddly baby, let's cuddle a baby, because I'm hormonal. So I waited a couple of months and the feeling did not go away. But my period went away. I only had it twice and it never came back, and I realized, okay, I really am going into menopause. But the feeling and the thought, this idea of having a second baby was in there, and it was stuck in there, and I was so shocked by it. I started talking it through with everybody, and I was expecting everyone to tell me I was crazy, because I thought I was crazy to even be considering this. Like, what? I couldn't really be seriously considering having a second baby by myself at the age of 49 with no family support where I live and a toddler. What am I doing? So then I went to my hometown of Melbourne, where all my family is, for everybody to finally meet baby Star. She was 14 months old at the time and nobody had met her in person yet. So we had a million family gatherings and family lunches and everything. I found myself telling them this secret thought in my head that, baby, I might want to have a second baby. And I discussed it with, like, I don't know, about 20 cousins and aunties. And they were all really surprisingly encouraging me to go for it and have a second one. And I was absolutely shocked because I just kept expecting them all to tell me I was crazy. But person after person in my family was saying, do it, you should do it, give her a sibling, it'll be amazing, you're loving being a mum. You're in the thick of it anyway, you may as well jump fully in. So many things that just made me go, wow, okay, maybe I'm not crazy for considering this. But at the same time, my dad was really freaking out. He was freaking out. He was worried, like, what if something happens to my health? What if I can't look after baby Star? What if the second child is not healthy? And he was the personification of all my fears. These were all things I was also worried about. And I realized that this whole decision was coming from fear on both sides, because I was thinking, I've got to give my baby a child so she's not alone in the world, so she's got a sibling and someone else who's a double donor baby who'll understand her, because no one will understand her. What if something happens to me and she doesn't have any family? You know, I was really coming from fear on having a second baby. And I had so many fears about, what if the baby's not healthy? What if I don't make it through the pregnancy? What if I come out of it not well? What if I can't handle two? And all that. So I had fear on both sides. And I realized that I can't make this decision while I have fear on both sides. Because when I had baby Star, in the lead up to that, those couple of years where I was trying to have a baby, I was not in fear. I really knew that if I don't have a baby, I'll be happy. If I do have a baby, I'll be happy. So I was really, really neutral about it. There was no driving fear on either side. And as a result, my pregnancy was very relaxed. The whole process was very relaxed for me. I was not attached. I was excited, but I was not attached. I was hopeful, but I knew that if it didn't work, I'd still have an amazing life. So I felt really good, whatever the outcome was, which is why I was able to go through the first IVF attempt and it wasn't successful and I was okay. And I was able to switch to donor eggs because I just knew that all outcomes were positive for me. Whereas with this decision about the second baby, I just felt fear on both sides. So I knew that I would have to work through my fears before I could make a decision. I knew I had to get to the point where if I don't have a second baby, me and baby Star will be great. And if I do have a second baby, me and baby Star will be great. I knew I had to get to a neutral place before I could make this decision. So I knew that I had to work through these fears and that it was going to be a big job. So I started doing some sessions with the counselor, and also some deeper kind of energetic sessions, some spiritual work to see where these fears were coming from my childhood or down my genetic line or from, you know, past lives even. I mean, if you're open to that stuff, I just wanted to really work through it at the deepest possible level on every front. So that's what I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 months, working through all of these fears. And I have finally come to a point where I do feel neutral and I feel like whatever happens, baby Star and I will be okay. So that's why I'm at the point now where I've made the decision, and I'll tell you towards the end of the video what my decision is. And as I said, I've been changing my mind every single day. So I'll just tell you now some of the things that I was thinking about on both sides and that I've worked through, in case they're things that you're also working through when you're thinking of having a second baby. So for those of you who have a second child, when I'm going through my fears in this video, if you had to go through any of these same fears to get to your decision, please let me know in the comments. Please let me know if you relate to any of these fears that I'm going to be sharing. So the first lot of fears I had to work through were about my fears of what would happen to baby Star if she's all alone in the world without a sibling. And that was really big for me. I had a very challenging relationship with my sibling when I was younger, so I don't have an idealized view of sibling relationships. I know how difficult they can be. But my sister and I did a huge amount of work on our relationship, and now she's in her late 40s, I'm 50. We get along really well, and she's a wonderful support to me, and I'm a wonderful support to her. But in the early years, it was really rough, probably the first 30 years. So I know that it's not always guaranteed that your siblings will get along, but I do feel that because I had so many challenges with my sibling, I have learned a lot about sibling dynamics, and I feel like I have a lot of knowledge and skills that my parents probably didn't have back then to facilitate a really beautiful relationship between two kids. So that is not really an issue for me, but I definitely felt a really strong motivation to give her a sibling because, you know, I'm an older mother. I had her at 48, I'm 50 now. Even though I plan to live to 100, I might not. Also, my mother has already passed away. My father's elderly. She's got one auntie who's pretty much my sister, only 18 months younger than me. So she's only got one cousin, which is my niece, and my niece is 9. So she's got one cousin, you know, 8 years older than her. But other than that, she really doesn't have any close family. I have extended family, but most of them had their kids a long time ago, so their kids are older. They all live in a different city, so she's not going to grow up knowing them. Obviously, there's opportunities for us to get to know other families that have used the same sperm donor as us, or maybe the same egg donor as us, and she could form relationships with genetic siblings over the years. And I have actually had some contact with some of them. I'll talk about that another time. But those, you know, relationships are not close relationships. None of them live near me. They will take years to develop. It's very, very different than a real sibling that you're living with in the same house, growing up together and bonding on a daily basis from birth. So I was feeling this really massive burning driver to find someone to give my embryos to, or to have the baby myself, to give baby Star a sibling, and it was really consuming me. So I did some work on that. And then I had a really interesting conversation with a friend who pointed out that the kids being born now, they're not here necessarily for the same experience that we all had. And baby Star is really just pure love. Like, if you met her, those of you who've seen her in the videos when she was a little baby, she's pure love. And my friend really pointed out that, like, the whole world is her family. Animals are her family, trees are her family, all other people are her family. You know, the concept of family and siblings doesn't have to be so literal. So that really helped me hearing that, because I thought that's true. She is a very connected baby. She connects through her heart to everyone she meets. But at the same time, I do believe that having an actual, real, literal family to grow up with and someone to share things with is important. And also, it would be really wonderful for baby Star to have someone who really knows her from birth, who's known her from birth, not just me, a second person, and someone who knows her mum as well as she knows, and who knows her grandpa as well as she knows them, so she can really share. Because, you know, it was definitely beautiful growing up to be able to say, oh, that's just dad, or oh, that's what mum's like, because I had someone else who knew them, who I could share that with, which was my sister. So I think that would be really beautiful for her. But at the same time, I know that if I don't have a second baby, I will be able to build in close relationships for baby Star through her whole life, through school friends, through extended family, through cousins. Like, I will just have to put in extra effort to make sure that she has those relationships. And I see in my niece, who is an only child, who's 9, she has very, very close friends. And she has some close friends who are also only children. And they really play together a lot, very regularly. And they're almost like cousins to her. So I feel like I've worked through this issue enough now that I don't feel this desperate burning urge to give baby Star a sibling, or to find someone to use my embryos if I decide not to use them. I'm not feeling pressure on myself anymore to have a baby, to give baby Star a sibling. Cuddles. I'm being asked right now to cuddle my baby's doll. So I'm just going to take a moment to cuddle the dolly.
Cuddle.
Do you want to cuddle? Do you want to cuddle?
Cuddle.
Somebody wants a cuddle.
Not me. Not me.
Somebody wants some milky, so we might have to press stop and give her some milk, and then I'll keep going. A friend of mine said something really powerful to me. She said, you know, TJ, it's not fair to bring a child onto the planet just to be somebody else's sibling. And I thought, oh my God, that's true. It's not fair. That child's coming in for its own life purpose and its own life journey. It's not here to be something for someone else. So that really was the final straw for me, when I realized if I do this, it's not going to be to give my daughter a sibling. If I do this, it will be because I want to have a second child. So then I really had to sit with, do I want to have a second child? And also, is there a second child wanting to come in? Which is a big question. Those of you who are kind of on a spiritual path might relate to that question. Those of you who aren't might think it's totally woo-woo. That's okay, just skip this section of the video. But before I had baby Star, a couple of years before, when I first started my fertility journey, I was actually working with an amazing woman in New Zealand who works with the incoming souls that are coming onto the planet. And I worked with this group of women, and everybody in that group could sense 2 spirits hovering around me, a boy spirit and a girl spirit. And since then, I've had so many people say that to me. There's a little boy hanging around, hovering around you. And I do feel that myself. So for me, that's not a driving reason to have a second child, because for all I know, that if that is true, that little boy might want to come in as my grandchild or in some other way. So I don't take that as a literal thing that I have to act on, but it's just something else that's in the mix. And, I might do this and have a girl, and it'll turn out all of that was wrong. Or I might do this and it doesn't work, and it turns out there is no second child wanting to come in. So I don't hold tightly to any of that, but it's just an extra piece, and it's quite a beautiful piece. The bigger piece for me is like, do I want to have a second child? Do I want to do all of this again? And can I manage it by myself as a solo mum with no family who lives here and no help? If you're on the single mother by choice journey, thinking of having a baby by yourself, or you're thinking of having a baby at an older age like I have done, or you're thinking of having a baby using a donor egg or a donor embryo, I really want to invite you to join the new private community that I've created. At the moment, it's a free community, and it's for women who are on an unusual path to motherhood. It's a free community, it's off Facebook, it's totally private. And in there, we all connect with each other, we get to know each other, we cheer each other on our journeys, we support each other. I share videos that I don't show on YouTube of my daily life with baby Star. And I'm also offering some coaching and some support and some mentoring for women who are at a stage in their journey where they really feel like they need some support and they need to be understood by somebody else in the world who really gets what they're going through. So if any of that appeals to you, making friends with other women in the same situation, asking questions, getting support, being part of a community of women in the same boat as you, then go to mybabydream.club and join the community. It's growing every day. We have women coming from around the world, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's a really welcoming, loving space. So I'll talk about the do I want a second child piece, and then I'll talk about the can I handle a second child piece, because they're two totally different things. I didn't originally want a second child. As I said, I only wanted one child. So after this started to wake up in me, I really sat with it. I sat with it for months, like, do I actually want a second child? And the more I sat with it, the more the answer came to be yes, that I do. That doesn't mean I can handle it, that's a separate issue, but do I want one? Like, do I have internally any yearning to cuddle a second baby or to play with a second baby? And I realized I do. I absolutely loved the baby stage. I had a really easy run with baby Star, so that's probably also coloring a lot of what I'm feeling, because it was not hard. I got sleep. Yeah, she still wakes up every 3 hours at night, whatever, but like, I'm fine. I get enough sleep. She's such an easy baby. She plays independently. I managed to get a lot of stuff done. Plus I spent a lot of time with her. I'm finding ways to make it work as a stay-at-home mum and still earn some money. And I work when she's asleep, and I work till midnight every night when she's asleep, and it's just working. I've loved it. I have loved it. Those of you who've watched my videos know how much I've loved it. I've loved every single second of this journey. Even the toddler stage, I'm loving the toddler stage. It was so amazing seeing her learn to walk, and now she's starting to say words. I mean, it's so exciting. I love sleeping with her. I love playing with her. I love feeding her, like all of it. I love breastfeeding her, like I've loved it. When I think of doing it again with the second one, I just feel excited. I don't feel, oh God, a newborn. No, I think, oh my God, a newborn. I get to cuddle a newborn again. I get to change nappies on a newborn. I get to wrap them up in a little swaddle again. I get to see how they're different and all the ways that they're different. Oh, by the way, that's my cat. So that bit is a yes for me. So then the question was, can I handle it? Can I handle the sibling dynamics? I feel I can handle the sibling dynamics because of what I shared before, because of my background and all the work I've had to do in my own relationship with my sister. I've read some books. I've been reading books and educating myself on how to make the transition easier for your firstborn to becoming an older sibling. And I would put in practice all the things I've learned from those books and from Facebook posts I've read and blog posts I've read. I mean, I research everything. As you guys know, I research everything. So I've done a lot of reading just to see, is this something I could handle? I had to answer this, because if the answer is no, then I'm not going to do it. So in satisfying myself that I could handle this, I've done a lot of research on how to manage sibling dynamics, and I feel confident about that part. If you're enjoying this video or finding it helpful, please click like on it, give us a thumbs up. It really helps YouTube, to encourage YouTube to show it to other women, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. So then there's more the practicals. Like, I was like lying there at night for weeks thinking, how would I do this? Like, I'm someone who has to think everything through in advance, because I need to know it's doable and it's possible. Otherwise, I'm not going to jump into it, because I'm someone who likes to feel calm. And the way I feel calm is I reassure myself that I've researched it properly and that I know what to do. So for weeks and weeks, every night after baby Star I would go to sleep, I would lie there and research. And I would type things into Google or into Facebook groups like, how to get a toddler and a newborn to sleep. What do you do with bedtime routines? How do you bathe them both? How do you get both of your children into the car when one's a toddler and one's a newborn? Like, oh my God, I researched so much of it. And the conclusion I came to was there are solutions for all of it. You just got to find out what they are and do them. So I feel like I could handle the practicalities of it. So then I had a couple of months of total meltdown of like, how could I do this financially? How could I financially do this? I'm not going to go into my financial situation on YouTube, but just to say that at the moment I'm okay with one child. 2 children would be a stretch. I'd have to really up my game and start bringing in extra money. I feel I could do it, but you have to bank on your health being good and being able to find time to do it. And then how would I manage childcare? Would I be a stay-at-home mom and just work when my kids are asleep? Or would I send my kids to daycare? And, I've just been thinking all of that through. And then I'm on single mother by choice groups, reading how they're all pulling it off financially. And I'm realizing like they're all finding a way to do it. And yes, some of them are doing it tough. I would probably have to spend a lot less than I'm spending now. I wouldn't be buying any fancy schmancy baby stuff like I did last time. Luckily, I've kept all my baby stuff. I kept everything, crib, bassinet, all the clothes, everything, because I was going to give it all to my best friend because I was hoping she'd use my embryos. So I still have all of that, so that will save me a fortune. But, the second time around, I would do it much cheaper. I would get everything from Marketplace and secondhand things. My kids probably wouldn't go to fancy schools and they probably wouldn't have fancy holidays. But for me, none of that's important because I feel like the most important thing I can give a child is love, community, connection, time in nature, healthy food, lots of cuddles, great friendships. To me, all of that stuff is way more important than taking them to piano lessons and gymnastics classes and going on fancy holidays. I went to a fancy school growing up and it had all the activities and everything at my fingertips. And honestly, none of that was what made a difference to me in my life. What made a difference to me in my life was how much love I received from my mum and my dad, how supported I felt by them, how understood I felt by them. That's the thing that has shaped me as the person I am, not because I got to do piano lessons and things like that. I truly believe that the most important thing you can offer your child is time for play, space for play, and connection, loving connection. And empathy. And those 3 things I can provide. So anything extra like tennis lessons and fancy field trips, that's all a bonus. Now, obviously, if my child turns out to be a prodigy at something and they really need that activity, that's different. I would find a way to pay for it. But I'm not going to do a million activities just for the sake of it. So I relaxed a little bit about that, but I definitely have to pull my finger out, as we say in Australia, and earn some more money if I'm going to have a second child. So I agonized about that for a good couple of months and did the sums and figured out I'd have to spend a lot less than I'm spending now. I would probably have to get a tenant into my house or start doing Airbnb or something to use the room I have in my house that's available. So there's things I would have to do. I'd have to start doing a lot more work and a lot less free stuff, like my free YouTube videos and things like that I've been doing. I just have to get organized. And I decided I'm not going to let that stop me. The financial issue, I'm not going to let that stop me. So I felt that I could pull it off financially, although it would be challenging. And that really was the part that was keeping me up at night, how I could possibly make that work. So then after I worked through that fear about finances, the next one I really had to work through was my fears about, what if something happens to me? What if I have a really difficult pregnancy and I can't look after a toddler while I'm pregnant? Or worse, what if something goes wrong in the birth and I'm left incapacitated? Or, what if my health can't hold up to it and then baby Star won't have anyone to look after her? So that's been a really big one I've had to think about. And in working through that one, I've had lots of medical tests done. I've spoken to my fertility doctor. I've actually gone and spoken to my obstetrician who delivered baby Star to talk to him about if he thinks I'm healthy enough to do this. I've worked with a specialist who specializes in postpartum recovery. And all of them have given me the big thumbs up green tick. Because even though technically I'm 50, I've just turned 50, all my health checks are like a 35-year-old. And I had a really, really good postpartum recovery, probably because I got sleep and I was relaxed and I have an easy baby. So all of those things have added up to big, big green ticks from all the medical people. So that's really reassured me that I should be okay in a second pregnancy and I should recover okay. Who knows? You can't guarantee it, but everything in life is a risk. But this is a calculated risk and it's not a high risk, even though I'm 50. And then the other piece was the health of the embryo. Now, it was not my eggs, as you guys know. I used a donor egg, and these 2 embryos I have left come from the same batch of eggs that created baby Star. So from a 22-year-old donor, they're likely to be very healthy. Obviously, not every egg from every 22-year-old is healthy, but the chances are high that they're healthy embryos. So I could really relax on that front. So I feel like on the health front, after getting all those tests from all the doctors, I've realized that I feel reassured about that. One of my big concerns is who would look after baby Star when I'm in the hospital, because I'll have to have a C-section, and I still haven't solved that. So if I do go ahead with this, that's one piece I don't have an answer to yet. And I figure if I get pregnant, I would have 9 months to work that out. Hopefully by then I'd have someone in my life who I could rely on for that, or someone from my family interstate could fly in, or who knows what I would do. But we'll think about that one. I feel like I would have time to solve that one. And then one other fear I've had that I've really had to work through, which I'm sure so many of you have had to work through who are thinking about having a second baby, is like, what about my beautiful bond with my firstborn child, baby Star? Like, I don't want to lose that. That's the thing that has actually caused me to wake up quite a few days and go, no, I'm not going to do this. I just don't want to ruin the bond I have with her. Like, the thing is, because she's saying flower right now. She's playing in the garden saying flower, flower, but she pronounces it foya, foya. Foya. I'm not showing you her because I don't put her in my videos on YouTube anymore, but she is in videos inside my private community, my babydream.club. So come and join that. She's in some of the videos with me there if you want to see how big she is now, but I don't put her on public YouTube anymore. And in my case, this issue is really extreme because I'm a solo mum and there's no cousins or grandparents or anything like that that live in my area. So she literally only sees me. So she and I are literally together all the time, and I haven't put her in daycare yet because I've been working from home as a stay-at-home mum, just working during her naps and working at night when she's asleep. So basically she's with me 24/7. So she has never been apart from me. Like, I've never had an hour off. I've never wanted an hour off. I probably could hire a babysitter if I wanted to, but I haven't wanted to. I'm sure a time will come when I'll do that. But at this point now, she and I have always been together. So I was like, oh my God, how am I going to lose that beautiful, precious thing? We sleep together, we cuddle together. She and I are just besties. Like, you know, and how hard is that going to be for her to adjust to having a sibling to share my attention and my time and my energies? Almost of all of the things, that's the one that brought this thing to a halt. And I had a few weeks there where I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then I've talked to a lot of women. I'm in a lot of baby groups, toddler groups, and a lot of those toddler mothers have a new baby now, a second baby, and I see them with the toddler and the newborn, the toddler and the newborn, and I'm always talking to them about this. How did you cope with this transition from 1 to 2 and the bond you had with your firstborn? And I've just had so many things said to me by so many women, and yes, some women do find that really hard and they have to grieve the loss of that close time with their firstborn. But almost everyone I've spoken to universally has said to me, your heart will expand, it will grow so much. You'll love the connection you have with both of your kids, and you'll get so much pleasure watching them play with each other and the connection they have together. And yes, the little one won't get as much attention as baby Star did from you, but they'll get it from their older sister. So it'll end up being the same amount of love that they're getting. It's just going to be from 2 different people. And I'll have to really include baby Star in the process with the new one so that she feels like it's her baby too, and she's enjoying helping mummy with the baby. And I'll just have to do whatever I can to make her feel included and to get some help in the house so that sometimes someone else is watching the newborn while I'm playing with baby Star. Like, I'll just have to find ways. But I was really agonizing about that, and it almost brought the whole thing to an end for me, if I'm honest. It was the hardest thing of all my fears for me to get over because I so love my time with her. And my sister is a single mum with a daughter, and they are so close. They do everything together. And my niece is 9. And I've seen that for the last 9 years, and I want that for myself. So that almost brought it to an end because I'm just like, I love my relationship with baby Star. I just want us to be mum and daughter and be besties. But then I really sat with it and I imagined what it would be like to have a third person in that situation. And I imagined having a toddler and a newborn in my lap and having 2 of them cuddling me on the couch and 2 of them jumping on me and watching them play with each other and run around laughing and screaming and kicking each other and playing with each other. And one of them runs up to me and then the other one runs up to me, and I realized, oh my God, I'm going to love it. I'm going to love it. And then someone said something to me which really clinched the deal on this fear. She said, you know, before baby Star, you had a life where there was no child and you can't even really remember that now. Like, it doesn't feel real. And I was like, that's true. I can't really remember my life before baby Star. She said, that's what happens when you have a second one. You can't remember what life was like before the second one. You're not going to be sitting there pining for the life you had with baby Star because you're going to have this new person and this whole new life with them, and it's going to be magical and different and a whole new thing. And I was like, oh my God, that makes a lot of sense because I can't really remember my life before baby Star. So I just have to enjoy every second I have with her now. And if I do decide to do this and it does work and I end up pregnant, I'll have 9 months to spend that time with her. And then she would be probably 2.5 by then. If it worked and the new one came, I would have got to have 2.5 years of just the two of us. And that's a long time. The question is then, how could I give the second baby that degree of closeness that baby Star has had from me? And that's where, as I've said, I'd have to draw on assistance and help and daycare and find ways to bring the two of them into everything. I just would have to work that out. But that has definitely been a big fear for me. Okay, so I'm getting to my decision now. So 3 things have happened in the past week that have helped me come to my decision. The first is my father rang me and told me that he'd really love it if I could go to my home city, which is a 2-hour flight from here, for his birthday in early January to celebrate his 80th birthday. And I was like, of course I'll go celebrate your 80th birthday. Great. And I started booking my flights. And then I suddenly realized, oh my God, January. I was thinking, oh, I'll make this decision over the next few months. And then if I decide to do it, maybe I'll do it in November or December and put the embryo in. And I was like, oh my God, then I'd be in my first trimester. And I'd be traveling interstate, flying on a plane, dealing with a million family catch-ups and running around. And I could be exhausted and sick. And that's not going to work. So I was like, oh my God. So I either have to do this before so that I'm in the second trimester in January, or I have to do this next year, like in February or March. That's cutting it really close because there's actually a cut-off deadline legally in Australia that you can only do an embryo transfer before your 51st birthday, and I'm turning 51 in May. So I was like, oh my God, I gotta make this decision now. So that really put a time pressure on me. It's like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I've got to do this in August or September or October at the absolute latest. So I got to get onto this. I got to make my decision. The second thing that happened was I was at a play group that I take Baby Star to with lots of other mums, and lots of them have their second baby now. And one of the women was talking about wanting a third baby. And this woman in the group who's finished having her kids, and she's sort of seen it all. She's one of those people like, I've seen it all. I've been there, I've done that, I've seen it all. She said, in my experience with babies, if it's not a no, it's a yes. Because this is going to keep coming back. You're going to keep thinking about it, keep thinking about it, keep thinking about it. If it's not a no, it's a yes. And I suddenly went, oh. Because in everything else in life, it's the opposite. If it's not a yes, it's a no. If it's not a yes, I'm not going to date that man. If it's not a yes, I'm not going to do that job. If it's not a yes, I'm not going to buy that house. Like, I'm so programmed to think that I have to be at a yes, a really clear yes, otherwise it's a no. When she said, if it's not a no, it's a yes, I suddenly had this blinding moment of, oh my God, I've been agonizing about this for 6 months. It's obviously not a no. Oh my God, I'm not a no. That means I'm a yes. Oh my God. And that was the moment when I realized I'm a yes. I have to try this. It might not work, but if I at least try, I'll always know I've tried. And if it's hard, I'll deal with it. But if I don't try, I'll always wish I had tried. I will always wish I had tried because it's not a no for me. So it's a yes. And then the same week that woman said that, something amazing started happening in my house. Baby Star started acting like a big sister. She started handing me her baby dolls and making me put them on my boob and actually feed them. And I don't mean over the bra. I mean, I had to take off my bra and really feed the baby. And then she started handing me nappies, and I had to put nappies on her teddy bear. I had to put nappies on her baby doll. Yesterday, she came up to me, handed me her doll and said the word cuddle, cuddle. And I had to cuddle this doll, and I realized, is this child trying to tell me something? Is like the higher self, the spirit of my daughter, trying to tell me that she wants me to go ahead with this baby because she wants to help me do it. She wants to be a big sister. She can't talk yet. She can't tell me that with words, but on some level, she's telling me that through her actions. And even if she's not, what this is showing me is that she is the kind of baby who's very caring, very mothering. She looks after people. She loves sharing with people. She's very nurturing. So I feel like if I was going to have a sibling with any toddler, this is the right toddler to do it with because she's an easy baby. She plays independently. She's very patient. She's very chill. She's a good sleeper. She's loving. She's caring. She's maternal. She's motherly. I couldn't ask for a better toddler to have in my house when I had a newborn. So that's the other thing that's really started to play into this decision. So at the moment, my decision is yes. So I'm about to start on this path. It's not going to be as easy as last time because I'm no longer having periods, so I have to do a medicated round, which means it's a slightly longer process and the odds are not as high, so it may not work, but I got to at least try it. So everything I've put you through in this video with all my back and forths is what I went through for 6 months, day in, day out, all day, all night. And I never made a video about it because I wanted to wait until I had made a decision. I didn't want to talk about it when I was in the throes of agonizing and going back and forth. So now I've decided. doing it. I can't believe it. Don't even let me think about it anymore because I'll change my mind again. I'm just doing it. I've booked it in with the fertility doctor. It's happening. I will keep you posted. Please no negative comments because I've made my decision now. Just supportive comments. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. I gotta go look after this little toddler now. See ya. Bye.